Can you all hear me out there? Oh, now I'm too loud. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your patience. It took us a little longer to get started here. I don't like starting even a couple minutes late, but we had a lot of AV work done in our PAC this summer, so we had to make sure the stream was all set and everything's ready to roll. So we are good. I got confirmation we're all set to get the year started here. Exciting year for you, most of you being freshman parents. We are super pumped to get your student athlete on campus and get the year underway. So thank you so much for coming here. My goal, you can hold me to it, is 30 minutes. So I'm going to do my best to talk quickly. We will link the PowerPoint on our website afterwards. For anyone who maybe you're a parent that's here without an athlete, if your athlete did not sign in because they're not here, we will share a Google form after the meeting. It's a 10-question quiz. It's really what we consider to be some of the most important things covered at this meeting. So if they're not here, we're going to ask them to complete that quiz before their sport starts. Now, some of them may have started their sport already, and that's okay too. If you have any questions, afterwards is a great time. I'm here, obviously, and my assistant is here as well, so feel free to just come on up front and tug my ear on whatever you guys need to talk about. I'm more than willing to have a discussion with you. So thank you for being here. We'll get things underway. If you don't know, I am Mr. Joe Griefkes. It is my privilege to be 8 years in my position as the activities director at KML. I'm sure you've had correspondence with my fantastic assistant, Mrs. Amy Noss, serves out of the athletic office. And then some of you may also know Mrs. Michelle Zock. She's here tonight. I'll make her stand up. No, I'm just kidding. She is more of my activities assistant. She helps out with a lot of fine art stuff, some junior charter stuff as well. If you're joining us virtually, just again, we will be sending content out to you after this meeting occurs, and if you have any questions, feel free to email us. We always like to start all of our meetings here, especially at the beginning of a new school year, centering on what is our foundation. We are the one KML family. Hopefully this is not the first time you've heard those words. Some of you have heard them for years and years. It's not just a phrase that is a cliche. It's truly something we strive to live by. These culture words we feel defines the KML family, and they are also things that we expect you to hold us to as leaders. As we talk about exit outcomes, these are the things that we hope that by the time of your student and your student athlete finishes at KML, that they are going to be. So I'm not going to read the whole list for you there, but something that we're all here for a reason as leaders, because we really believe in this school and our mission, our vision, our values, and we are grateful that you and your student athletes are a part of it as well. This is more to the student athletes in the room, just starting with a lot of positivity. I'm going to draw your attention to Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. That's really a guiding Bible passage, you could say, for our year. Whether it's on the court, in the field, in school, representing us on the road, we hope that all of our student athletes will learn to be Christian servant leaders. So we'd ask that the parents, as you guys run into potentially issues, challenges throughout the year, that you feel inclined to come to us. Whenever you have anything that's on your mind, we just ask that you bring it forward to us. We would pray that you would enter a conversation that's maybe contentious with a level head, and we expect the same of ourselves. So we suggest the 24-hour rule. Not always relevant, I understand that, but I think it's always wise to take a little time to digest what the situation is, ask all the questions, and then go directly to the coach, to the AD, to whoever the leader is that potentially can help you solve that challenge. Today, our main goal is to go through our parent-athlete handbook. So hopefully a lot of you have that in front of you. If you don't, it's also on kmlhs.org, and as well as being on our athletic site at kmlchargers.com. A couple years ago, we did not love when they took all of our nice tabs and they crammed them all under more information. So if all else fails, if you go to more information, there's about 30 items that drop down from there where you should be able to find the handbook and any other information you may need. We offer a lot of sports and a lot of different teams, and we're super thankful that year by year we're able to add more activities at KML as our student population grows, as our faculty and our staff grows. Truly, we feel blessed from God. We are members of the WIA, and for now, the East Central Conference. This will be our last year. I'm sure a lot of you have heard. We are getting realigned. It's a realignment that's favorable to us. So as of next year, we'll be entering into a totally new conference. The huge upside is our drive time gets way better. So we're going to go from about an hour and 5-minute average drive time in the East Central Conference down to less than a half an hour in the Glacier Trails Conference. So if you haven't heard of schools like West Bend West, West Bend East, Port Washington, Kewaskum, and Plymouth, Sheboygan South are part of the new conference. So that's just really something that's been done behind closed doors for a year and something we're super excited to share. We do have athletic fees for given sports, and we try to list them there for you just so you can prepare for that when our fiscal office reaches out to you. We're excited to announce, and I think a lot of you have heard it already, but we have entered into a boys hockey co-op. The WI approved that last year already for the 24-25 season. So this opportunity, if you're curious, well, why all of a sudden now? This opportunity came to us because Washington and Ozaukee County for a very long time have been allowing students from either county onto the Ice Bears. They have gotten so big that they have restructured things, and so now they're only permitting schools from Washington County to be a part of this co-op. So we are one of currently 9 other schools in the county that's able to take advantage of this. So we're able to offer boys hockey through a co-op with really West Bend West is the main school in charge of this. Now, obviously the participation fee is a little bit higher, and I think if we have any hockey parents in the room, they know it is an expensive sport to start with. So this is a reality of the cost of this sport. We're excited to be able to offer it. They are offering JV and varsity levels, and I have been informed that there's no, I said, well, what if we have like 50 kids who want to do it? They said very nicely that there's not really a minimum, that kids are not cut, that on the other hand, they don't, it's not going to be equal playing time, but basically they're structured like any JV and varsity team would be, and they add more teams as needed. So some exciting information for you. Mike Driscoll is the head coach of the Ice Bears, and he is certainly your main contact person. Our athletic office is the fiscal agent for our school fees. So what that means is, if your student athlete is interested in boys hockey, what we do is we're going to have a sign up. They're going to look for that in their email. We'll send the parents the info as well. They will sign up. They will pay the fees to KML. Then we will cut one check to West Bend West as the main fiscal agent. So if you have more questions about boys hockey, certainly feel free to touch base with me afterwards. A lot of our info is on kmlchargers.com. Now, I would pause you, the calendar function. If you looked at the calendar function 2-3 years ago, it was really muddy and it would not often link up with what we call our main online calendar. That has gotten a lot better. I'm thankful to say it's finally the same calendar that you see at kmlihs.org, on our activity scheduler app, and kmlchargers.com. So they're finally mirroring. It's probably easiest, though, if you directly download the app that you see in front of you. If you search on, doesn't matter what your phone is, you're searching activity scheduler, it looks like that blue hat with the RST on it. Then as it pops up, all you have to do is search for Kettle Moraine Lutheran High School. We're one of thousands of different schools that's in there. If your kids are also in band or NHS or student council or whatever it is, this calendar app shows anything and everything. This is not just for athletics. This is, and it's sometimes frustrating, everything going on our campus. So I see some of our teachers who are here smiling because if you look at one day, you may see 52 things on there. You can itemize that. If you don't care about all the other things going on, you can pick JV football practice, and it will give you a live link that even if something changes, that live link will update. So that's the blessing, that you can categorize and itemize, and then the link is live. So even if we have snow cancellations or whatever else, it's always tied to what we changed. This may be super uninteresting, but I think some of you will appreciate it. Any contracts that I sign are automatically tied to our calendar. So our coaches know this already. When a contract changes athletically, the calendar changes. So I'm trying to say this is a big upside between everything on the app and online versus if you love, like my wife, to print off the paper calendar and put it on the refrigerator, there are going to be changes. So I'm trying to nicely tell you this is the Bible to come back to. We are in our second year of partnering with GoFan. And so I think most of you know, but if you don't, we are 100% cashless for admissions and then also concessions. Now, it's a blessing, and at times it's a challenge as well. I would say if you have any concerns, if you have any questions, we have a year behind us, and some of our parent volunteers hopefully can attest to this too. It's very user-friendly. We have found it actually gets people in the door faster. It allows for advanced planning. Our prices have not changed, so you are able to purchase tickets at the door and pay the daily ticket price. You're also able to purchase season passes. If you go on GoFan right now, you are only going to see daily ticket options. You're not going to see season passes yet. I just talked with GoFan. Within the next week, the season pass feature should be there. We have made it so that we've done the math. The season passes are the cheaper way to go in most circumstances. Now, it kind of depends on what your kid's all in, but roughly these are set at a 20% discount. So if you know, Mom and Dad, you're going to make it to every single boys basketball game, it would make sense for you to go this route, meaning the boys basketball family pass. If you know you want to attend all of our winter events, including girls basketball and other things of that nature, the winter sport pass may make more sense. If you know you're going to miss a bunch, we do have a lot of people who purchase individual tickets. It just kind of depends on your family situation and how far you're potentially planning out into the future of the given season. Family pass includes 2 adults and all accompanying children, so that's the big difference. The way we have it working on GoFan is you will get 2 unique tickets. So if Mom comes early, that goes from green to gray as we click through it. Dad comes later, he still has the ticket living in the app. Generally, the kids are with one or the other, hopefully, and usually everything's super simple and works out great. If you have questions on GoFan, as you get into it, certainly feel free to reach out to us. We manage this, we mitigate this, we're the ones that are doing it, so don't reach out to GoFan directly. We're the ones that take care of all the issues. This is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like. It's really a couple simple screens. The furthest left is just you showing the pass at the door. We ask you to press it. That's the green Use One pass. It gives us a check mark, and then we send you through. On the final one, you can see when a pass is used, one is grayed out, one is still relevant. You are able to transfer these as well. So if you're not going to be able to make XYZ game, you're able to share it with anybody you want, basically. The only kicker is they need to be able to have access to your sign-in information. Away events you will find on GoFan as well, if that school is using GoFan. A lot of the ECC schools are, but you're going to have to kind of pay attention to information that should come out from your given coaches, because there are a lot of schools that they either do a hybrid or some are still doing cash. But the majority in the ECC at least are doing GoFan. All right, our Charger Club. We might have some Charger Club members here today. Everyone's a part of the Charger Club. It's something we say every year as a means of inviting our parents to be involved in some of our booster type activities that we have going on at KML. We have Charger Club officers that help plan new and exciting events along with hosting some of our past events. So if you've ever been to our Charger Club, maybe you've ordered things from our plant sale. In the past, we used to do Family Music Fest. So this group has a lot of that going on, but more excitedly for me is that they're looking for new ways to involve our families and to raise money for KML athletics and to make it really more family beneficial as we do and host different events. So the goal is to raise school spirit and excitement level and tie it in oftentimes with our events. Covered all that. All right, student athletes, as we get into the handbook here, just a couple things to clarify. So dual participation, the WIA has a term called WIA non-school competition. So that would mean if your athlete is a girls volleyball player here at KML, and they are also potentially still in club volleyball. The WIA feels strongly that they owe the allegiance to their school sport, so they don't say, well, you can't do the club sport. But one way that they try to make sure that loyalty stays with the school during the school season is they have limits on how many tournaments of that same sport that athlete can compete in. So going back to that volleyball example, if you have a girls volleyball player, also has club stuff going on, practices are fine. But 2 events would be the maximum limit during the volleyball season. And so you would need to see the athletic office to make sure we fill out the proper paperwork, and then I approve that to say, yep, you can go to Cleveland for that invite and Colorado for that invite, whatever it may be. 2 events, same season. So that's a WIA policy. If you have questions on that, certainly let me know. All right, our main goal, obviously, in the athletic department, activities overall, is that our students get involved. The fall season, we feel like, is a point of emphasis because, especially for freshmen, they're coming to a new school. Maybe some of them don't have a large friend group. Through activities, it's a great way to meet different people and to get involved in your school. So my own daughter is so sick of hearing this, but we're like, you're doing something in the fall. We don't care if it's children's theater or volleyball or cross country. You decide, but we feel really strongly that you be involved in something. Obviously, all of you know your student athletes, but certainly we feel like fall is a really important time early on for our student athletes to get involved. All right, we have a handbook section that's called Standards of Behavior. This is what we refer to as our training rules, and they are in effect year-round. These would be some of the things that potentially athletes could be disciplined for here at KML. Obviously, the positive side of that is we're hoping that all of our athletes strive for Christian behavior, and yet we know, just like we all struggle, our athletes struggle at times. Just the year-long piece is really important, that athletes at KML are not just athletes during their given season. They're athletes year-long, including the summer. Athlete communication. You know your kids. You know what they're great at and what they're not great at. If communication is something they struggle with, certainly please help them along. Involve their coaches in helping them along, but we notice that athletes that communicate really well between coach and parents make it much easier for both sides. So just something obviously that we're going to hope to promote is that our athletes are great communicators as they're trying to balance and manage a lot of different things. I do have to say, students that quit in the middle of the season, we're not talking about a kid that breaks an arm or has a serious injury and it doesn't make sense for them to continue if they're only 3 weeks into a sport. We're talking more about the athletes that they get into a sport a month and a half, they get frustrated about playing time, they're like, I'm done, and they quit, they're out of here. Those are the athletes that we do have a policy for, and it's something where it's not carte blanche, black and white, but ultimately it sets up a meeting between myself, the coach, and the athlete, and we discuss the full situation. The policy does read that if students, just to be totally transparent, if they do quit, that the next activity season that comes up, so if they're a fall athlete, then it would be the winter season, that they may not participate in that. Again, not black and white. Meetings are obviously held, parents are obviously involved as well. We just hope that it never gets to that. And really the reason I say that is an encouragement for athletes to really deeply consider before they even get to that season. Okay, do I want to do this? Am I committed to this? Am I going to follow through with all the expectations? We have a couple different terms in our handbook. First of all, unbecoming conduct may lead to suspension. So if an athlete, we get word from teachers, learning center, etc., they're really struggling with homework, perhaps they've got a lot of truancy behind them, or just maybe, frankly, a lot of absences. Maybe they've been involved with some unfortunate incidents. We would obviously work through that process, and this is really myself and Mr. Albrecht. We would work through the discipline involved in the situation. Unbecoming conduct is kind of like a warning, I guess you can think of it as, and most often that's a one-time event that the athlete is sitting out of. A conduct violation is a little more serious. This is where there's substance abuse involved. There's something that occurred on social media that was highly inappropriate. Conduct violations are totally spelled out in the handbook. And so it's very easy to go in there and see, well, what is a conduct violation? We hope and pray it never comes to this, but 20% of the competitive events are lost. Unfortunately, this, yes, even in a Christian school, happens every single year. And we just hope and pray that our students, our parents, our teachers, our coaches, all work together to ensure this happens as little as possible. 3 or 4 times, it's only happened 1 time since I've been here, but we did have a situation where that individual could not compete anymore at all. All right, our code of conduct, again, training effects are in being enforced year-round. Our code of conduct, same thing, applies for the full year. If we have, as you can see there, multi-program participants, they're going to see penalties in potentially all their programs. It just depends. If they're in multiple things at once, we're not going to just say, okay, you only get athletic penalties, you don't get theater penalties. They're tied together. Out of season penalties would, if it occurs in the summer, would apply to the fall season. So our goal here is to implore that social media is used to build others up. It's used in a God-pleasing manner. Making sure our athletes really understand, right? And as being a father of four, I totally get this, that it takes tons of conversation with our kids as far as how can we faithfully represent not only ourselves, but our family, our church, our school, our full community. And so I think that repetition is super helpful as we continue to shepherd our kids. If there are social media misuse that you are noticing in your groups, parents, we're not encouraging you to rat people out, but we're encouraging you to have an upfront conversation for the betterment of that individual. Because unfortunately, what often happens, as you're well aware, with social media is things that start small get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we've seen that far too often. And so we are very transparent. We are very willing to have conversations with you. If there are things that maybe you haven't seen anything, but you're concerned about something, please feel free to reach out to our leadership team. All right, medical paperwork. I know this is a beast, and I know if you've done this, you know it's a lot. But we worked so hard, kudos to Mrs. Nas, the last 2 years now we've done it, to get everything to be online, and so it really takes the paperwork out of it. So we found it to be easier on our end. Most parents that have done it, once you're done, hopefully it's a lot easier on your end as well. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the bottom bullet point is the most important, that we need, even if it's not done yet, if your student athletes in volleyball or soccer coming up, we need all of it done before they can participate. So it's really sad and unfortunate when we get to certain circumstances where somebody hasn't turned it in and we have to hold them out of their sport that they love for 4 or 5 days or beyond. So please do your best. If you have questions, we've already gotten a ton, feel free to ask them. Insurance, just important to know, KML does not cover your student athlete, so make sure you have adequate coverage for your student athlete. Obviously, there are risks of participation. Travel, everything is done digitally now. It's not like we're doing mom and pops signing of permission slips for every single given event that your athlete is traveling to. The consent is given to transport the athletes using KML transportation. We strive to provide KML transportation to all of our events. Most often parents are bringing them home from, but 9 times out of 10 we can also leave buses at our athletic events where if rides are needed back, we can get the student athletes back as well. Some of our smaller sports, we run into challenges at times with vans and transportation and whatnot. Field trips are kind of lumped in here as well. Expect some digital communication from your student athlete's coach or a leader of an activity group. In track and field, which I'm the head coach of, I have my parents sign one Cognito form digitally at the beginning of the year, and then when they check their athletes out of our meets, it's also digital. They go in, if they're not coming home on the bus, it's super quick and easy. They sign it, it's in the same spot so they can find it every time. They sign them out, we can do our checks on the bus to make sure they're good to go. So you should expect that from your coaches. Skip over that one. Nicole Volkman, if you haven't had the chance to meet Nicole, she's back again for another year. She's almost a decade here at KML. She's fantastic. If you had an athlete injured, she's super easy to work with. We love Nicole. Our kids get to know her very well. She's an amazing person who is very skilled at her trade. She's most often available until 4:30. She will evaluate even if you have younger children who have things that maybe have occurred through junior chargers or something else. Or we've even had faculty members who have tapped into Nicole's knowledge from time to time. She's very willing to talk and to refer and to provide services. She is here for most events doing what we call sideline competition coverage, which means she is physically present or she has another trainer physically present. It is our goal that at all of our varsity events we always have the coverage that we need. Aurora does offer free injury analysis. So if Nicole does refer you, the first appointment is always free. And then certainly Nicole is able to follow up if you do decide to go with Aurora. She does a great job. When kids are injured printing return to play plans and giving them exercises that they might get through PT and all sorts of great stuff. We ask that athletes, when they need to see Nicole, unless the coach has literally brought them there because it's a serious injury, that she will have a Chromebook outside of her door that they sign in, just because her room often gets overwhelmed. So for some of the athletes who have seen Nicole before, that is a change this year. We're going to make sure that our athletes sign in, and that's something that Aurora wants as well. All right, absence is obviously super important. Our policy, the biggest thing for you to take away, if you take nothing else away, is that students have to be in all classes. Every high school is a little bit different. KML's policy is first hour through 8th hour, or whenever early dismissal is, the student athlete needs to be in class. Friday applies to the weekend. So if we have a Saturday tournament, they have to be in school all day Friday. Obviously, there are extenuating circumstances. So the handbook covers a lot of them, funerals, college visits, other things like that. If it's a school-approved absence for those sorts of reasons, it's totally different. What we're trying to avoid is obviously an athlete who's like, oh, okay, I didn't feel good and slept in for the first 3 hours of the day, and they show up 4th hour, and we're like, yep, you're fine, go ahead, play in that game. Sometimes the athletes, push themselves, and they're showing up and they're not well, and obviously that's not great either. So just, again, every class, every day is really what matters most. If you have questions, reach out to us. Our front office does a lot of the coding and working through all of that so the teachers know what student is going to be absent when, or if a student athlete has an early dismissal. They do a great job communicating that. If you have a question on an extenuating circumstance, it starts with me, and then I involve Dan Albrecht, who's our Director of Student Culture. And so if it's a tough decision, it's the two of us that own that decision and communicate that to parents and athletes. All right, just like we said, athlete, coach, parent communication is important. Obviously, it's also important that our student athletes are communicating well with their teachers and the front office. So just an encouragement, kids, ask questions if you have them and ask for assistance if you need it. By WI rule, I guess you could say, all of our athletes are considered amateur athletes. What that means is they cannot get, currently, the ADs in the state of Wisconsin voted this down, they can not get NIL payment. So if you don't know what NIL is, name, image, likeness payment. So they can't show up in a Quick Trip commercial and represent KML in their Chargers uniform and encourage people to come out to the big game. So they're not able to be compensated in any way, shape, and form. The exceptions are there for you. So basically they can receive common sense things, medals, trophies, plaques, stuff like that. They cannot receive, shoe deals, payments for other things. That's not currently allowed in the state of Wisconsin. All right, 1.6 is the minimum GPA. Hopefully it gets nowhere near that, but that is the requirement, and one failing mark. We are now moved to an all-semester platform here at KML. So we used to be quarters, now it's by the semester. So eligibility has not changed. If an athlete lands on in the ineligibility period, they are out for 15 days. After 15 days, they can appeal their ineligible status with Mr. Josh Shanek, our Director of Student Services. And during that time, they can only attend practice. Incomplete is different. So students are given 10 days to clear their incomplete status, and when they're incomplete from semester to semester with homework, they cannot participate in anything, meetings, games, practices, whatever it may be. If they're incomplete, they need to get their work taken care of, and they need to get cleared again by Mr. Shanek before they can move on. We do have an overdue work policy as well. This is something new that we added last year. It was basically our goal to make sure we don't let kids get too lost in the world of high school homework and the intensity of everything that they're trying to manage as students. So every 3 weeks, basically, we are doing checks on their work and making sure that everything is in. If they have overdue work, they could fall under our overdue work policy. So you can see there, I'm not going to read it all, under the bullet points, basically how it works. Students going to get info, parents will get info, activity leaders, that's my job to make sure they get the info. They're given a period of grace time to get it in, get it done. And if they don't, basically we are putting the brakes on everything activity-wise, and we're making sure that they get their work done. And so part of that is by involving our Learning Center and ensuring that they are part of the process to help facilitate the homework getting completed. School event closings don't necessarily mean the activity is not happening. A really simple example would be if we have school called off because as of 3:30 a.m. we've decided snow is going to be horrible and school is off. But we know event-wise that plows are out and by noon it's going to be fine and dandy. We're going to still keep that boys basketball game that starts at 5:30 on the schedule. So just to know that just because school is canceled does not mean athletic events are automatically canceled. So you should expect social media and communication from our office, and then you should expect information from your student athletes coaches as well. All right, real simple one, not going to spend time on it. Uniform, basically return them how you found them. There are fees if they get returned and they're not clean or they're damaged. If you have any issues in season, certainly ask your coach right away what you need to do to mitigate those issues. Volunteers, we encourage all of our parents to assist. Obviously, we volunteer our parents in the given season to help out with 2 events. And so it's our best way to share the load, which is to run an event here at KML, which takes a lot of different hands. So we're asking all of our parents involved in a given season to work at 2 events. Those are automatically going to be assigned to you. And we ask that you go with that assignment unless you have an issue. If you have an issue, we ask that you email us, and you can hopefully provide us with the solution of who's going to fill in or if you're swapping with someone. Our goal is to keep it as simple as possible. We do our best to know, okay, these are freshman parents who want to be at the freshman game. These are JV parents and varsity. So we try to figure a lot of that out for you. Mrs. Noss does a great job working through all that. But if you have issues, certainly feel free to involve us. All right, picture dates, hopefully you know them. If you don't, feel free to take a picture of that. This is also on our activity scheduler. It gives you locations and times as well. The coaches should be communicating this out also. All right, I apologize, I can talk fast sometimes, but that's because I really value your time. I believe I've covered everything that I've needed to cover. So again, thank you for being here. We are super excited to get into another year of athletics here at KML. Please stick around if you have questions, and God's blessings to you all on a fantastic year. Thank you. Thank you. I don't need it, but I appreciate it.